And we're on. Hello and welcome to podcast episode 89 of Rope Boxing, where the two Daves are back with a special episode. I did promise you, we promised you last week that we'd have a reunion / Christmas special / preview of Usyk versus Fury part 2. We did promise you we'd get the Phoenix 5 back together. That's myself, Dave, Adam Miller, Paul McGrath and Lee Harper. But if we go back to COVID times, when we had all the guys together, it literally worked. And now we've moved away from COVID and we're back to normal times. It doesn't work. So anybody that's got watching us on YouTube, you can see it's the Phoenix 3, not the Phoenix 5. We're joined by a very special guest, our old mate, our old pal, Micky, as he's put, what's he got there? Micky McMagic McGrath, he's added to the nickname. So thanks for coming on, brother. How are you?
Yeah, good, fella. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to joining the show. I've been trying to be a guest in this for a while, but I've been behind some of the likes of the famous boxers you've had on at the moment. So I'm right down the list of the pecking order, aren't I?
Well, we make them famous on here, don't we, Dave? We make them. We advocate for the semi-pro, the pro, the girls in the game. We're trying to get the big names on, but we're not quite there yet. But yes, mate, it's great to have you on. It's going to be an episode where we wanted the other guys on to build more of a casual look. A casual voice of how you see the fight going, of how you see the first fight and bits and pieces like that, rather than me and Dave rambling on all the time. People know our thoughts on both boxes, but obviously we'll stick our pen in as well. So let's crack on to the episode. But what I wanted to do, ladies and gentlemen, when I said / Christmas special, when I was doing a podcast with Mr. Paul McGrath there, the What's the Story 90s Glory, all about things 90, which is still going strong. With his new co-host Astros, we did a thing called Drink of the Week. So we started off the podcast with an alcoholic beverage and a little bit of a chinwag. Then we cracked on. And as when we were together as a 5-star, we always done a quiz at the end. It's one of our famous football quizzes called the Phoenix 5 Show quiz, which is still available on Spotify and Apple and wherever you can get it. So go and crack into that. So we do that at the end. There's only 3 of us, but it'll be a bit of a battle between Micky and Dave. But we will start Drink of the Week. I know what Micky's got. I know what Dave's got. So should we start with a positive or a negative?
Yeah, go on. Start with Micky. Start with Micky. Go on. Let us down as always. Go on.
Well, Drink of the Week. So we're expecting Christmas. We're expecting alcohol. We're expecting the snowball. We're expecting a few lagers, some mulled wine. What have you brought to the table, brother?
I brought a Highland Spring Still Water. It's for those who listen a crossover on some of our podcasts, normally I'd always have like a cocktail or a festive drink. But I recording on a Monday night, I fast for sort of Sunday to sort of Wednesday, Thursday. And I was tempted to break it, but I went out on Saturday night for a staff Christmas drinks and I had quite a few bottles of alcohol there. So I thought, actually, I definitely need to fast, get ready for the Christmas week. So I've let you down early doors. And I think that's the theme of the show going forward is going to be this. So I'm drinking, but it's just not the drink of. I could have just said it's vodka, to be honest. I put it on but I'm not a man who lies. I tell you the truth. Highland Springs, bish bash bosh, the McMagic starting the night off.
Yeah, I've got a couple of things for you, Micky. One, who picked your fighting name? Because I could have picked a couple for you, which would have been very flattering, as you know. So where did you get it from?
McMagic, it's a cocktail I used to make years ago. So obviously my name's not Micky, but everyone knows me as Micky now. When I used to do sort of wrestling years ago, it was called Brian Silver. That was my alias, Brian Silver. And I've always been known as the McMagic cocktail. So I serve you a nice bit of food, I call it a McMagic. If I give you a nice cocktail, it's called the McMagic. So basically, my boxing name is Micky McMagic McGrath. I think that rings quite nicely. Triple M. You got Triple G. Now you got Triple M. Get in with you.
That's Eminem, brilliant. But no, and also because we obviously speak a lot about you on the podcast, mate. All good. I don't say, especially me. I don't say a single bad word, especially when it comes to your fasting. I've said a lot of good stuff about this, and I just want you to enlighten the listeners because I've got a good. I don't fast, as you can probably tell. You mentioned my fat face. Obviously, I don't fast. But the listeners are keen to know your view on fasting because I've said really good things about it, and I'm sure people are doing it off the back of what I said. But what's your view?
Okay, so fasting, I won't bore on for ages.
Don't bore us.
I'll lock you down. So I've as you know, I've yo-yoed in weight for quite a few years. I started reading up a bit more about fasting a couple of years ago. Then since probably middle of this year, I started fasting for 3 or 4 days a week, just for once a month. And my weight sort of dropped off quite significantly, even though I was going to the gym. And then about 3 months ago, I decided to fast from Sunday to Wednesday, Thursday, depending on how I feel. And since doing it, I've lost a stone and kept a stone off. I don't work in kilos. I'm old school. And my body fat went from something like 43% down to just under 20%. And generally, the health benefits for Alzheimer's, brain disease, cancer, it looks like it proves to fight off a lot of these long degenerative diseases. And having kids, I've decided I want to live as long as I possibly can. Also, when you watch it in the UFC years ago, when they used to do, same as boxing, making weight, massive thing of making weight was that 24 hours before when they would eat or drink and they would cut and they'd be in the steam room cycling with black bean bags on. So these are pure athletes doing this on a 24-hour period. Obviously, some do it longer. Some take the weight off over a period of, say, 6 weeks or whatever they are, and they're working out intensely. But the actual brain damage and the Alzheimer's, all this stuff that you see with fighting sports particularly, I think this is going to be a long-term benefit that you're going to start seeing in the next 5 years, be a lot more mainstream. I recommend it. I've got 2 friends who just recently started it on the back of what I said. I'm sort of little group, we're going around doing it together now. And mate, it's really beneficial. I don't find it's much of a struggle. I think once you do the first couple of weeks of doing it, everyone goes, oh, I couldn't do it. But generally, I can eat genuinely. I can eat. So I stop at Sunday about 8 and I start again maybe Thursday between lunchtime and dinner, depends on what I've got on for that day. And then I can generally have what I want for Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And the weight has stayed off. My body fat has gone down. My muscle mass has gone up. Whereas before, when I was like yo-yoing or eating unhealthily, or even trying to balance out and even having cheats on the weekend, the weight would never stay off. Whereas this way, the weight has stayed off. And I break my fast on Thursday, normally with a sausage roll, then I have a steak dinner, then like a dessert, and then I'll have like strawberries and yogurt the next day for breakfast. And that's it. And I don't have coffee or tea. I just have water on my fast. And I have sugar-free bubble gum after day 2. And that's it, mate. Yeah, I'm a big advocate of it. I think it's as you can see from my face, for those who have seen me before, I've stone in weight's quite a lot of weight. I'm down to under 11 stone, which is the first time I've been that since I was about 23.
To be fair though, mate, being 4'8" and 11 stones, I would say is obese. So I don't want you to hoodwink our listeners here to thinking that that this is the right thing. And another thing as well, they're saying it's good for Alzheimer's. Surely you'd have to do it for 70 years. There'd have to be a 70-year study for them to know how it doesn't affect Alzheimer's. When was fasting started?
Yeah, it's quite fairly early in terms of research. However, if you look back at,
I'm not sure.
Scientifically, when you look back at fasting from the cavemen, so basically one of the things you get side effects is you get
from the cavemen.
Yeah, it's going back
got diaries of the cavemen are coming out, are they?
Yeah, honestly, it's when you go back to the fight or flight mode, these people didn't eat for days and weeks on end, and they all survived.
Yeah, because they were chasing fucking things to hunt and all that stuff. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. But they wouldn't eat, but they still have plenty of energy because how your body goes into a certain mode and it learns how to survive without food. A friend of mine has done it. Dave, you know Chris Ramos from Phoenix. Always
I remember him. Yeah,
I know him. Yeah, he was. Yeah, I know him. Yeah,
he was quite a big lad. He's now weighs about 11 stone, and he's been doing this for about 6 months. And this is like a permanent thing that we're doing. It's not like I'll do it for 6 weeks and give up. The idea is this is it now. I fast forever. If it's not by maybe 3 or 4 days, it might be fasting for 20 hours a day and eating for 4 hours in that period. But anyway, moving on. What's your drink of the week? Because no one wants to hear me waffle on any more longer about fasting.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that bloody question.
No, I know it went on for 8 minutes, but so we'll have to cut this, even though it's unedited.
You said you're going to do it briefly as well. I've hate to hear the full version.
Mine's a bottle of Budweiser, which I haven't opened yet, but I will do. I'm still suffering from the weekend, but it's a bottle of Bud. That's my drink of the week. I can confirm that I'm not fasting. And again,
you can see.
Yeah, each to their own. But yeah, I'm sure there's brilliant benefits from it. We'll find out in the next 100 years, like asbestos, that it's probably the wrong thing to do.
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, when we used to do the Phoenix 5 show, these two were always at each other's throats. That's what made it entertaining. And Mr. McGrath used to edit the thing. So whatever happens on this podcast tonight, there won't be any editing. So it's make sure you tune in. Well, stay tuned in anyway. We will get to some boxing very shortly, ladies and gentlemen. I'm on the Around Your Boom, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Me and Dave will elaborate on our wild shites from the weekend in midweek show. We do a review from the weekend. I've literally got Around Your Boom what I've got in the fridge for hair of the dog. I had a heavy weekend, the weekend as I normally do. And it is a great, talking about science and talking about fasting and facts and figures. When I have a can of beer or from the night before, it does sort of perk me up. I just had a sleep before coming on this podcast, and already the benefits are working. So I can confirm without any studies that around your room is good for a hangover. But I did say before we came on our WhatsApp group, before the other lads pulled out, your favourite current boxer, Paul. Who's your favourite current boxer at the moment, mate? Let the masses get to know your the kind of style or kind of character you're into in the boxing world.
At the moment, I'm a big fan of Nick Ball at the moment. I've really enjoyed a lot of his fights. Featherweight champion, 22 fights, 21 wins, 1 draw, which I didn't think
reading off a screen.
Anyway, I think I like about it. He's like, like me, as you said, Dave, quite short, but he's a bulldog, and he's just, even when you watch him fight, the way he swings a hook, it's so unconventional because he is so short almost, but he's got a solid chin, good footwork. I find him highly entertaining, really, in terms of one that I got my way to watch. As you know, I'm a casual fan. I watch a lot more in the last couple of years than I have in the past, but yeah, Nick Ball, I think, mate, I think he's up there at the moment. Then you're looking at your Usyks and your AJs and things like that in terms of watching the more mainstream. Yeah. I'm not as well versed as you guys. Obviously, Johnny Fisher, I've started watching a few of these fights, who's fighting on the undercard with old Micky, what was he, Bosch, following him. So, yeah, but I would say Nick Ball at the moment, the one I'll give most of my time for.
Yeah, great choice, mate. Great choice. We sing his praises on there, and he's got a fight booked next year on one of Frank's last TNT cards before he goes to the zone. But yeah, Nick Ballman, always campaigning and cheerleading him on this podcast, and looking forward for big things from him next year. But this ain't about Nick Ball. This ain't about any other boxer. This is about two guys that rolled it back. Well, I say we're rolling it back on Saturday night, ladies and gentlemen. We saw the first fights back in May, and we're getting the second fight, Oleksandr Usyk versus Tyson Fury, part 2 on the 21st of December in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So let's go back 8 months, boys. Same destination, same fighters, clearly. 4 belts are on the line. Undisputed heavyweight titles on the line, should I say. The first undisputed title fight we had in the 4-belt era, and the first undisputed heavyweight title fight we had in 25 years since Lennox Lewis went toe-to-toe with Evander Holyfield. It was champion versus champion, best versus best, number 1 versus number 2. You obviously know where we're going with this. All thanks to Mr. Turkey Al-Sheikh himself, Uncle Turkey, as we call him on here. Did it deliver? Well, me and Dave obviously done a review of the show back in May. We said our thoughts, but now it's time to hear you talk, Paul. The first fight. Going into the fight, mate, who did you have? Who did you want to win? How did you see it going? And obviously the original question, did it deliver for you, brother?
Yeah, I mean, I think most people that I'll use casuals as a better example probably, but most people probably wanted Fury to win because you wanted to set up Fury versus AJ, which wouldn't have happened anyway because AJ lost. But that was the whole epic British fight is Fury versus Anthony Joshua. Did it disappoint? No, it didn't disappoint. Did I think Fury would beat him? It was a 50-50. It was very much like it could go either way. I am not a massive Fury fan, and I'm sure me and Dave will have some disagreements on this later on, but I rewatched the fight before coming on, which about an hour ago, I rewatched the fight. I managed to skip bits of it. I don't think it was anywhere near as close as the judges gave it. I didn't think it was then. On second viewing again, I don't think it was. I think it was something, what was it? Two refs gave it by 1 round. I think one gave it by 3 rounds, I think it was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a split
1-1-4, 1-1-3, 1-1-4, 1-1-3, and then 1-1-5, 1-1-2. I think it was. So, and for me, I think it was nowhere near as close as that. I don't think Fury was even in the fight for a lot of the actual fight itself. A lot of holding, a lot of like wandering around. From a boxing point of view, was it a good boxing match? Yeah, of course it was. Yeah, it was a fantastic fight. Not just for the casuals, for you guys as well. But what was the fight that was on recently? That was the Bevel fight, when a lot of people in casual thought it was quite a boring fight. But if you watch it technically, and I'm not as knowledgeable as you guys, but I was sitting down, me and my old man was like, what a fucking, it's absolute masterclass because it's like a chess match. And I thought the first fight between Fury and Usyk would have been a bit more like a chess match, but I didn't find it had that intelligence from Fury coming into it as you would have thought. And Usyk, as we know, is a very calculated boxer. And I felt he done exactly what he's done the first fight, which he'll do in the second fight. and just broke him down very, very easily. That's my opinion on that, mate.
Yeah, mate, it's all about opinions. All about opinions. I think going back to the review we did, Dave, I think we're quite similar to what Paul was saying. There was parts in there, obviously, from what I remember. I have watched it since. I think we said like the first 4 was Usyk. The second 4 was Fury, and then it was quite subjective going into the back end. But I'm interested there what you said, Paul, about it being not as close as you thought, because straight after the fight, you had Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua standing next to each other. Eddie Hearn's sort of saying to Joshua, "Cool, weren't that close?" And Anthony Joshua saying, "No, I had Usyk miles in front." So it's literally about subjective as well, about what you like, what you were seeing. I saw it the same way as you. We spoke about it, Dave. Can you remember the way you went? I think we were quite similar. There were certain rounds you said Fury definitely won, and obviously the same with Usyk.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Paul made a very point there. He's very good at what he said. I think we can all agree Fury had good mid rounds. He had good mid rounds, and it was he took him a little while to get into it. The thing is, and it's the same thing in the second fight for me, is that Fury didn't push Usyk back. Usyk controlled the pace of the fight. Usyk was the front forward fighter, and I mean, he's done that in a lot of his fights. He's controlled the pace. He's made fighters work when they're not supposed to work, and he's wore them down late. And he's done the same to Fury. Now, everyone sort of said that Fury has had a good entry for a heavyweight, and he has. He doesn't tend to gas, but with Usyk, Usyk does that, and he's done it to every fighter. Now, obviously, when we talk about what happens in the second fight, we'll go into it. But it was I thought Fury could have done more. I've got to admit, watching it back. I mean, at the time we all watched it together, Mickey, and I think I was talking differently to all you guys when we watched it at your house. I saw it. I saw Usyk winning, but I wouldn't say it was close, but it was closer than what I've heard you boys say. Like the 115, 112, I can live with. I've got no issues with that. There wasn't a round in it. There wasn't, because Usyk started very well and he ended very well, and then he had the 10-8 round in round 9, which should have been a stoppage. Yeah, which should have been a stoppage.
14 unanswered punches. I mean, that's big.
He hit every corner of the ring. Anyone else, they get stopped for that, and that's fair enough. And it should have been a stoppage, and I totally agree with that.
Well, mate, you've literally taken the next question out for Mickey. You can carry on with that. That's what I was going to say. If it was anybody else other than Tyson Fury, if it was just a Friday night down at York Hall, a Wasserman card on Channel 5, and that happens to an opponent, whatever way, does it get stopped? And you're more or less fucking
well, Johnny Fisher does that to Alan Babbitt. It stopped, which is basically what happened in their fight. Come across the ring.
I think Fury's been very fortunate in a lot of fights that he's had with referees and with slow counts. Personally, I think the Wilder fight is an example of quite a slow count. I think this one, even when he stood up to, I think, to 8, I think he won in round 9, he counted out to 8 or 9, which was a slow count. As you said, he went from one corner. Look, we don't want the fight being stopped when it's an exciting fight. We want a definitive end, right? We want a knockdown. In these kind of fights, you want a definitive winner. So I understand why referees don't necessarily stop it or are a bit slower on the count. But I think Fury's career has benefited massively from slow counts in referees. And I just... Yeah, I think he wasn't very close at all.
To be fair to you, I can't disagree with that. But what I do, the fact that he got up the way he did against Wilder, I think that's in people's minds. That because he was out, and his eyes pinged open, and he got up, and it was like it was an amazing moment. People will put different type of Rocky songs and the Undertaker and stuff, and the narrative is with the mental health is like you can get up, and he drove that, and that was a massive thing, especially. And you know what, he's been a massive advocate for mental health, and that was all part of the narrative. When you're down, you can get up, and it's great, and it's a brilliant story. Now, the part of me thinks that he gets a little bit more time because of that sort of thing. Now, I'm not looking at the referee and going, "Oh, the only reason I'm letting this go on is because you got up against Wilder." Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I think it subconsciously is there because he has got good powers of recovery, Tyson Fury. And he has. He's been knocked down a few times in his career, and he has got up and he has won, and so. Different fights, different things. Michael Conlan, he gets banged on the chin, mate. They're counting it off before they even count to 1. Amir Khan was the same. So I think he's being taken fighter by fighter, and maybe it should be. But I'm totally with everyone else. Is that he wasn't throwing back, and that's usually a sign for you getting stopped on your feet. So there's a lot of things there that said he should have got stopped in round 9, and he should have done. So yeah, but is there a subconscious bias there? Possibly. Do you have to nail him to the canvas? Possibly. But again, it makes brilliant for Usyk Fury too. All these things, because it's the what ifs. Yeah,
it's interesting there. Paul made the point about the count, and he's right. It has sort of. The slow count has sort of benefited him in other fights. But what a lot of people don't realise as well with boxing, a count is not a second. So it's not 1, 2. It's not gone by the second. It's gone by the count. So you can go 1, 2. There is no sort of universal kind of rule that says it has to be 1, 2. We saw a fight on Sunday night, which me and Dave haven't spoken about yet. I'll just give you a quick recap, Paul. In Mexico, a heavy favourite got knocked out, and he was in his own backyard. And it didn't even look like the referee got to 10. It was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But it's still a count. So it is a good point you make. And Tyson Fury's ones do come across quite slow. You bang on there, mate. But just sticking with the first fight a bit longer. Do you think Fury should have used his weight, his reach, his size to impact Usyk more, or do you think, we watching it, mate, do you think it was more of a case of he couldn't impact against a slippery southpaw that doesn't stand still, that moves from side to side, pivots, natural movement, so many feints? What did you think about him not using his attributes that he's naturally born with, man?
I'll go back to the AJ fight on that, because I've said a number of times, we've had a conversation in the WhatsApp group, AJ was good at doing powerful punches, going in hard and fast, and in both the Usyk fights he didn't go for that. So a bit like Fury, he's not as a knockout explosiveness as AJ has been in his career, but for some reason he goes up against people, and they, instead of taking their strengths into it, it's like a football match, Arsenal versus Man United, whatever. If Man United are free-flowing attacking football, they don't. Why change your tactics against another team to suit them? You kind of bring your own game and you force yourself. And I feel that Usyk is a very, very, very smart boxer, if not one of the best, for minds of the game. And it did surprise me if you didn't try and lean into the things that he's good at. Everyone wants to get in the ring with Usyk, and they want to dismantle Usyk. They don't want to just beat him. They want to dismantle him and make them look like their IQ's higher than his. When Fury did the same thing in the first fight, he didn't use his weight that much. He didn't hold it when he could have done and tried to tire him out. It was a surprise, but equally, I think he was shocked at how fast Usyk moves. It's very hard to fight Usyk. I go back to the Tony Bellew fight. For me, I think Tony Bellew was his hardest fight he's had since I've been watching him in box. I think Tony Bellew went in with his own game plan, and I think Tony Bellew's got a very good IQ at boxing, and he just wasn't good enough. And I think Fury kind of went in going, I've got a high boxing IQ and I can outbox him. And I think that was his mistake. And I think he'll go and do the same thing again and try and beat Usyk at his own game instead of influencing his own self and style onto him. But equally, I don't think Fury, for me, I think Fury's a very overrated heavyweight boxer. I've said that for a good couple of years. I don't think and you can only go up against the people that you're against. And there's a big talk for years. I think we spoke about in the WhatsApp about how great the heavyweight division is over the last sort of 5, 6, 7 years. But really, when you go, and it is good because any heavyweight can beat any heavyweight. It's been Usyk aside, but you go in with someone, you think, well, he's going to beat him, and he's going to beat him, and it doesn't happen. So that's maybe the heavyweight that is the quality in the heavyweight, that anyone can beat anyone. But I think if you go 20 years down the line and you look back at this 7, 8 year period, excluding Usyk, I don't think anyone else stands a test of time, personally.
What they're sorry to jump in, Mickey, but what the thing is, because the heavyweight division was so poor leading up to this generation that we've got, you've probably been hoodwinked into thinking that this is a great generation. But if you go back to your Riddick Bowes and your Lennox Lewises and your Andy Holyfield and your Mike Tyson and all these old ones, it's an amazing era. But because we had such a poor era, Klitschko's were brilliant fighters, but they bored the shit out of the division. They ruined the division by hogging the belts and the style and that. There wasn't exciting. So Tyson Fury broke that, and he did. And so listen, we can only talk about, we can't talk about the era we're in, but we live in this era. So there will be people that look at this and think it's great. And there has been some great fights. The Fury and Wilder trilogy was an amazing trilogy. And I mean, I appreciate it now, and I'm sure you all do. But you'll really appreciate it once they're gone. You know, when you go back and look at it, because it was more than that. It was an event. It was brilliant. So they've had some good fights. It's been. I'm with you. It's been a good heavyweight era. Would it be great? Possibly not. And when the thing is, once they're all said and done and they're gone, you could probably dissect it like we will, and it probably, you know, you'll be on the fence about how great you think it is. But I'm with you. It'd be good because we'll see where it lands. But because it was so bad prior to this, you know, I think it's probably elevated this into feeling like it's an amazing one. But you can't compete the 90s and the 80s.
And that's a good thing. I think when you had, this is why it's almost, I'm conscious myself almost, because when you look at the era of the Lennox Lewis and the Riddick Bowe and the Tyson era, it was such a Holyfield, just brilliant era. And then you look at this and you said it was so poor before, but you're getting the super fights now. So this is why we're getting all these people defeated. If you think now back and think, right, if Turk doesn't come in and we don't have these super fights, how boring is this heavyweight division? Because none of these top fights are happening. Realistically, they're not. They're not happening. Daniel Dubois wouldn't be where he is. Usyk would still be riding off, but fighting has-beens that people have just given into to keep his record alive. AJ would probably be the champion in some manufactured way because it was good for the sport in that rounded way. You would have got Tyson Fury about AJ being spoken about consistently for the next 10 years, still going on about it, and maybe happening when they're 50. So I think there's a lots of positives in it. But I've always said, I've stuck by this. Fury, I've always found is so overrated. And you look at the Wilder trilogy and you go, okay, fine. You know, that was a legacy trilogy, 100%. It's up there with the best legacies. But a proper boxer pits Wilder away, like he did in the third one. I think the third one he pits him away quite convincingly, but it took him 3 fights almost to get there. And Ngannou, when he fought Ngannou, like he got battered by Ngannou. Like, and I don't mean he got battered. There's no way about it. He got battered by Ngannou. Did he take it seriously? You can ask all these questions. It doesn't matter. I think he's an overrated boxer. And I just think that the first fight, I think he got it wrong. I think he wanted to show the world he was the better boxer and the lineal champion and all the talk goes with it. But I just don't see anything happening differently in the second fight, personally. I think it'd be more convincing of a win this time.
Don't give your prediction yet because we haven't got into the second fight yet. But there's some great points to take out. Dave, Paul, you mentioned the Wilder trilogy there. Dave, you mentioned about the Klitschko fight. You're right, mate. In 2015, how long ago was that? 2015, when Fury went over to Germany. Nobody went to Germany and outboxed the Klitschkos. You needed to knock Klitschko out to get a draw. That's how dominant they were back then. And it was boring, but it's very dominant. And it's the same in the UK now. No American fighter wants to fight in the UK because the scorecards are absolutely dog shit. They're getting robbed. That's one of the reasons we never see Teofimo Lopez come over here because he just fires back at us. Well, your scoring system is absolutely shit. Even we use foreign judges, you're still every week. Me and Dave are sitting there talking about scorecards, and a lot of the time it's in the UK. But going back to the Klitschko, the changing of the guards, and obviously the Wilder fight. I'll start. Let you come in here, Dave. Obviously, he's not the same fighter. He has changed his style. He's obviously got older. He had that period when he was nearly 30 stone. He was drinking. He was on drugs. He was banned. Everything else went with it. Mental health problems, as Paul said. He's came back and he's not the boxer anymore. He's under Sugar Hill and Andy Lee. The style has changed. But my question is to you, mate. Going from 2015 to modern day, going into the second fight with Usyk, can we or are we starting seeing to a little bit of a decline in Tyson Fury? And Paul mentioned Francis Ngannou there, whether he's serious or not. He's supposed to be an elite sportsman with the ring IQ, the generalship. It should have been an easy night's work, but we said on the pod, I gave Ngannou the win, Paul, by a round, I think, when we went back and did it. But yeah, the original question, are we starting to see a decline in Tyson Fury, Dave?
I think so. I think so because Paul mentioned it in the Wilder fight there. Obviously, he got the draw in the first fight. It was the draw. His second fight, he bulldozed him, went on the front foot. Something we hadn't seen before because he was all slip slide, like doing all the rope-a-dope and all that sort of stuff. He was doing that in that fight. The thing is that, and like I say in the Usyk fight there, he was pushed back, and it was something that he couldn't cope with
by the smaller man.
By a smaller man, yeah. There was two, and you, like I said, he had success being on the front foot of the Wilder fight. Now I know Wilder and Usyk are completely different, but I worry for him in this fight. I really, really do. for the way I feel that he for me, he needs to push Usyk back. No one does that. Now everyone thinks that they're going to go out there and do it. AJ's the same thing. You just have to go. The only way to beat him is stop trying to box him like he did in the first fight. Go to him in the second fight and run through him. But he's got too much movement. His footwork is elite footwork. He's not going to let you put his back to the ropes. He will spin you. He will slip and slide. He's a ballet dancer, for fuck's sake. And that's the one thing that Tyson Fury is going to have to try and do. Now, in doing that, he's going to burn so much energy. Now, we talked about his engine before, and he hasn't. And to be fair, for a guy who's 6'9", he has had a good engine. Now, you look at your AJs, you look at all your Jarrell Millers of the world, all these muscle guys, even Daniel Dubois, a current world champion. They down the stretch they struggle, and they do. We spoke about it before. Too much oxygen in their muscles. Tyson Fury has done the rounds well over the years, and he really has. But he's not working at his pace anymore. He's working at Usyk's pace, and Usyk's got so much footwork, so much lateral movement that even if you are going forward, all this it's mentally that you're getting drained. It's not physically; it's mentally that you're being drained. And the thing is, for Tyson Fury to win this fight, he has to push Usyk back. Now he has to work harder than he ever has before, and he's 10 years older than in the Klitschko fight. I just don't see how it can happen. I just do not see how you can at the age he is now to have to up his work rate to something he's never done before.
Well, the rumours are, Dave, I don't know if you've seen it as well, Paul. Obviously, he's gone away now, Tyson Fury. He's up in the hills in Malta. I think he's actually in Saudi now, but he's been away. He's been quiet on social media. Nothing's coming out of his mouth. There's been no abuse from him. He's obviously got respect of Oleksandr Usyk both ways. But the rumour is that he's looking to come in heavy. Now, you mentioned there about the Wilder second fight. We all sat here, in our homes and our armchairs and whatnot, listening to Tyson Fury going into that second fight, saying, I'm under Sugar Hill now. I'm not with Ben Davison. I'm going to go to the centre of the ring and I'm going to trade with Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder was unbeaten at this stage. He'd won all of his fights, bar one, I think, with knockout. You're just watching Deontay Wilder to detonate. He was the bully. Tyson Fury said, I'm going to go in, I'm going to bully the bully and stop him. And we all said, never enough for Sundays. There's no way you're trading with Wilder because you're going to get knocked out. You're going to get hurt. You've already been put down twice in the first fight. No. And he went in and exactly done that. So you're on about the second fight now, which we will obviously make our predictions. But with this fight, Paul, you come in as well, brother. Putting on a lot more weight against Dave, just saying a guy that makes you work when you don't need to. The gas tank and try and bully the bully. Can you see Tyson Fury doing that? Because he said he was going to do it before. None of us believed him. So I know it's
a completely different
game, if you like. Can you see him doing that?
No, trading with Wilder is completely different. Yes, Wilder's not a boxer. He can't box. We all know that. He's not to be disrespectful, obviously, he's better than any of us, but you can stand there and you can't go punch to punch. Fury has a good chin. Up until that point, you could see he had a good chin, and that was a different tactic. I don't think coming in heavier is going to make a massive difference again, coming in heavier, who does that benefit? Usyk or Fury? Because that to me then benefits benefits Usyk. Because Fury, all he's got to do is hang back a few rounds in the beginning, give up the first 2 or 3 rounds, let Fury try and have a go, and then break him down systematically after that.
You know what, I'm expecting Usyk, even the first fight, to expect Fury to come in aggressive, to come and start swinging, not so much boxing. So Usyk's prepared for all sorts of styles. Remember, he's had 500 amateur fights. He's clocked the game in terms of weaving up the cruiserweight and heavyweight. He's had all styles thrown at him. So he's kind of expecting it. But with the question on, you're right. Who does it benefit? Fury come in at 20 plus stone, and even Dave said about his gas tank, he has naturally got very good gas tank. But when you've got to work when you don't need to, I think it could be a disaster, boys. I really do.
Well, it depends because, and I'll go back to the AJ fight and say again, the second fight, everyone thought AJ was going to come in and go back to being the AJ of down the pipe, but again he went to box, and although he's a better performance in the second fight.
The thing is, though, you're right. The thing is, AJ never actually said that. It was his team that was saying that. Fury actually said, "I'm going to go to the middle of the ring and I'm going to trade with that motherfucker," and he did.
Yes,
people put words in AJ's mouth. He never said that.
Correct, but the point being, no, I get it. But the point being is that he went against everyone. Thought second fight. I sometimes think, I know there's a massive thing now, and I think it's a modern boxing. You correct me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong. This whole protect the O It's just out of control. Everyone is trying to protect their own now for the last 15, 20 years.
Kind of dying out turkey's coming, Paul, but you are right. It's a Floyd Mayweather
Generally speaking, it was a coin phrase. Everyone's protecting the O, and it was like, oh, the O's got to go. This whole thing, and I get the marketing hype behind it. But the best fighters in the world in MMA, in UFC, and in anything in boxing are people that avenge a loss. They get knocked out or they lose, and they come back and they beat the person at their own game or in their own. Well, however they do it, then they go on and leap again. And I think that's what I've always liked, that whole comeback. And I think sometimes when you lose a fight, you go, right, this now I've learned. Okay, right. Now I can. When you're winning and you're trying to protect that all the time and you're going against people, you don't have that same mentality. The one thing I'll say with Fury is he's not stupid. You know, he's got a high IQ. I don't think he's as high as Tony Bellew, and I don't think as high as Usyk. But I think he's got enough knowledge around him to say, do you know what? There's something here that I've got to do. And I think him coming in and causing a surprise, because I think now you're looking at it as a surprise on how he sets up his first 4 rounds, could surprise us all. And I think that's what he's got, is I think, has he learned from the first fight of what to do and what not to do? Does he stand there in the first 4 fights and go, do you know what? I will stand in the middle ring because I'm heavier, and you come and attack me. Because what does Usyk do then? Does he attack him? Does he stay off him? Does he think, okay, well, I'll break him down and he's going to get tired as the rounds go on? Does Fury give up the first few rounds and then tries to go for the middle rounds? He seems to be, looking at his career, more successful in middle rounds of fights than he does beginning and end, a Wilder aside almost, because he got off from that amazing punch. But I think you can't look past Usyk, but I think purely on the fact that he's made his first loss, and I think history, when you look at other people that have lost their first fight, generally have come back stronger if you're a real world champion material and one of the greatest. And again, that's why I don't think he will be able to, because I don't think he's up there with one of the top. I don't think he will make the top 10 of heavyweight boxers in my opinion. So I can only see this going one way unless Fury does something massively surprising or Usyk fucks up somehow, personally.
So great points there. So Dave, I think the question Paul's literally asking, who makes the adjustments and how?
Well, this is going to be the factor in the fight. I don't think Usyk needs to make adjustments, because Usyk, for me, controlled the pace of the fight. He controlled, and not only that, when it came to the crunch in the mid rounds, which Tyson Fury had success, there was only one person that gear changed, went into another gear, and it wasn't Tyson Fury. So he's managed the fight better. Now, I hope Tyson Fury does come in and make Usyk think. I really, really do. But it's the timing of it. It couldn't, fighting Usyk for Tyson Fury probably couldn't come at a worse time in his career, because and it's the same for anyone at the back end of the career, and they are at the back end of his career. A younger, fresher for Tyson Fury, a 2015 Tyson Fury. Could he?
Sorry. Do you think a 2015 peak Tyson would be any better at beating this peak Usyk than he is now?
I think
I'm
chess match. It's going to be a chess match. That's a chess match for me.
Yeah. Do I think that the Tyson Fury of now or the Tyson Fury of 2015 has a better chance of beating Usyk? The thing is, experience is key, and obviously he's had 10 years more of experience, but what he hasn't got is probably the same engine as he had in 2015, the same stamina, the same. He could have the 2015 Tyson Fury could have managed the fight better. Maybe had another gear to go to in the later rounds. It's a hard one to know. It's a hard one to know. But yeah, that's my issue. My issue is that.
Paul mentioned there about his first career loss, and he's got a point. He's never been beaten in his career. He's had a draw, and he's sort of avenged the draw. He's got to come back and avenge the loss now against the pound for pound king. I mean, what's his mindset like? What's his motivation like? We know there's a load of money on the table. That's why we got the first one, and that's why.
Just to say on that, you're right. But the way this promo and build up to this fight has been, can you ever name a Tyson Fury fight that he said so little in the build up on social media, on talking smack, anything? I haven't seen any headlines about his dad or anyone. This is a very
you're right. That's what I said. He's gone away to the mountains in Malta. We haven't heard nothing from him. So he's taken. You look at the press conference, the first presser. He said Usyk didn't say a lot. Tyson Fury said even less. It was all sort of lovey-dovey. It was like he wasn't calling him a white gap tooth rabbit anymore. He's just a middleweight. I'll knock you here from King. All that's gone. because he didn't realise what he should have realised, being a pro, and his team should have realised that you can't take him lightly. So again, Paul, you're right. He's gone very quiet. He's tucked away in Malta. He's training on different things, and that was the question I asked. Because he hasn't said anything, but the rumours are he's going to be bigger and come in stronger and try to bully the bully. It's so many different. But back to the mindset, Dave. What mindset do you reckon he's got?
He's been humbled. He's been humbled because the thing is, as well, is that he's never tasted defeat. And when you are undefeated, you do feel invincible. Now he has come out after at the time, says he won. He think he got screwed by the judges, all that sort of stuff. He needs to bury that. He needs to bury that. And like I say, and to go and avenge a loss, to go and get your mind right, is to stop all the stupid shite. Like go and tuck yourself away, and make it your fucking absolute life's worth to go and avenge it, because that's what makes him great. Yes, you can be great, like you said it earlier, Paul. The Muhammad Ali, he had defeats, but it was how he come back, and that was what. If Tyson Fury wants to go down as an all-time great, this would be where he does it. Everything else before it means absolutely nothing. And he's been in some great fights, and we talked about the trilogies, and he's had some great moments. But if he wants to be great, what happens on Saturday night will be the difference. Now, if he comes and does everything that he says he's going to do, and everything of course he believes it. He's a fighter; they believe it. If he comes in and does everything that he believes he's going to do, and does a number on Usyk, he will go down as a great. And this is what makes it great. When we spoke about the mental health stuff and getting up, this is and he was an advocate for that. If he comes back and does this on Saturday night, that shows how great he is. He's been down. We know all the stories about his mental health. He's been defeated. And what does a champion? What does a true champion, true fighter do when they've been beat? They come back. And this could be the biggest. This could be a bigger story than the previous one.
But I think if he did come back, he'd have to do it twice. He'd have to beat him twice. To go down as that would be twice. What I
don't want, if he's going to come back and win, I want it to be conclusive. I want it to be everyone agrees that he's won that fight. He's done a brilliant job on it. However he does it, he's done a brilliant job of it. He's won it fair and square. He won the fight. He's a deserved winner. What I don't want is to get a narrative for a number 3 based on the fact that Tyson Fury's won it on a shitty judge's scorecard, because you see if that because everyone will be like, oh great, we get a third fight, and there'll be people for that. Yeah, it's got to be a deserved third fight, not one where we think, for fuck's sake, where did the judges see that? And we're talking about it next week as, oh fucking hell, it's a screw job, but we get a third fight.
Controversy, you mean, basically?
Yeah, I don't want no controversy. If he's going to come out and win it, I want him to win it fucking, even if it's a knockout. But win it fairly. I don't want this narrative of the judges, because let's be honest. Like I had it 115, 112, which is a couple of rounds of that. But 113, 114, with a 10-8 round in round 9 is iffy. And I think we can all agree that.
Yeah.
So, but going back to mindset, mate, I've gone off a tangent a little bit. I think it's the right thing to do to stay off social media.
Yeah.
Stop all the shite. There's no John Fury punching fucking plastic walls with KSI, all that other shit. Get your head down, come back like a true champion, and try and win. Fair play. That's how you become great.
You got my notes in front of you. If you somehow got my notes, because that was the next question. I would say, Micky, John Fury, thoughts on his actions? They just said there last time we saw him headbutt one of Usyk's Ukrainian team. I think the guy must have been about 14. He had a 10-off. It was embarrassing. And then we see him in the corner with Andy Lee and Sugar Hill. So you've got 3 coaches in there. Well, you've got two trainers. You've got the main guy, Sugar Hill. You've got Andy Lee in there as well, and then you've got John Fury. So after that round 9, when he got buzzed all around the ring, mate, we're seeing 3 different people giving him 3 different instructions. That can't be good for morale, for Fury itself. Couldn't have been planned. What's your thoughts on John Fury anyway? And what do you think about that corner where 3 guys sort of throwing different instructions at the poor bloke when he's just been buzzed?
Realistically, I think in the heat of the moment that he's not listening to any of them. I think that when you're that into round 9, you're focusing on what's in front of you. You're not really listening to the trainers. But but his dad's voice would cut the deepest, because just as your brain works, the most familiar voice. There was a documentary on Netflix, or a special about the Usyk Fury 1 fight. I think it's Undisputed. I think it's called. I watched that, and they cover the headbutt in that. And John Fury's argument was if if they're now talking about me, they're not talking about my son, so he can now, peace. But that's bullshit, because it's been about your son the whole time. But you're throwing yourself in because you want to be part of the circus. And do you know what? Go for it. You're 70-year-old man. You think you are as nails, but you're just a bit of a distraction. But Fury likes that chaos. Fury needs that chaos. You see, he's from a house where the kids are all ADHD, and he's got this. He needs chaos around him, and that is going back to the mindset on the fight. The original question with that, a bit of both on there, is that by doing the opposite of what he normally does, this is not a normal environment for him, being rockied out into the mountains and running up the hills and stuff like that. He's used to chaos and noise and people being around him, so it's a completely different mindset that he's going to go into this one from the first fight. With John Fury, is he entertaining? Yes. Does he sell fights? I think he contributes to it, because we all know it's all about the controversy and the social media accounts and things like that, and he does it better than anyone else. He hasn't done anything at the moment. I think Davey might have said before about he's a distraction for Fury when you've got your dad doing that sort of stuff. But that's what he's lived for his whole life, of having him doing stuff like that. So I don't really find it much of a distraction. I just think he's just there, and it's part of the circus, which boxing is. It's a circus at the end of the day, and that he's just the big elephant in the room.
Again, for a casual, you make some decent points, mate, and it's not tongue in cheek. It's really interesting. But I think we came to the conclusion about the actual fight, a fight of that magnitude, and the first undisputed fight in 25 years. And Fury to get knocked about like that and be lucky to survive that round 9. You've got the head trainer in Sugar Hill that's getting paid, that's getting weighed in to make the decisions. Andy Lee's like his second in command, which is there. But John Fury to sort of speak over them and give directions to his son. I get it, it's his son, he's emotionally involved, but give different instructions to the guy that's been there, worn the t-shirt and delivered in Sugar Hill. We came to the conclusion, Dave, that it is a distraction, and he needs to stay, even though it's painful, he needs to stay away and let Camp Fury do Camp Fury things.
Yeah, I've mentioned about fathers and being around fighters and stuff. For me, it's not great. You've got Teofimo Lopez, we spoke about, Devin Haney, Bill Haney, all them guys. I find it a distraction, and I didn't like the corner work in that fight. I really, really didn't. There was too many voices. I've got a lot of time for Andy Lee. I think Andy Lee was a great fighter. I think he's a good coach, and I think his partnership with Joseph Parker's great. Sugar Hill's is a great trainer. I don't think you need the third person in there. I think you need, Andy Lee and him. I think Andy Lee's respectful enough to let Sugar Hill do it. I don't think it was great. For me, it was a shambles, really, and it contributed to the loss. It does. We've spoken about corner work in the last few episodes, about how much the difference it can make in a space of a couple of words. And for me, that was a shambles. And from what I hear, is that it's going to be the same again. But I'm hoping there's only one voice, and it's Sugar Hill's in this next fight.
I do agree, Dave. You are right in terms of, is it a distraction? I said no, it's not. It's more focused on the person in front. But you're right. He just shouldn't be allowed in his corner, But then you argue that he's always had that voice there, and that's that kind of motivational, like get in there and fucking do him, son. And that sometimes wakes people up. Like, oh, fucking hell,
well, yeah, but the thing is, it's not
as simple as that, is it?
It's all well and good saying get in there and do him, but we're not in the Weatherspoons, and you're up against Usyk. He needs someone that's been there, done it, and he's got a world champion in Andy Lee standing there. And he's got Sugar Hill, who's has come from the Kronk gym. They've seen it all. What he needed after that round 9 is, listen, gather yourself. Even if he took a round off, give him constructive advice. Go in there and do him when you've just been buzzed and just survived round 9 is not right. I'm not saying that's exactly what he said, and I know you're saying that tongue in cheek, but it more or less was that, because he wasn't giving him any type of fucking.
The emotion
it was an emotion, and listen, we're all fathers, and you can get caught up in it, but when you're in a fight of this magnitude, you can't fart on emotion. You can't have that in there, because you've got to be so switched on in a fight like this that and listen, you can't blame him. I know no one is, but I think that needs to be looked at in this fight. And because like I say, we again, none of us have done it, but the advice would be to go out in round 10. Compose yourself, get back behind your jab, and work yourself back into the fight. You've still got another 4 rounds to turn this round, after round 9. But it was what it was. And you said it right there, Paul. It was chaos, but he didn't need chaos at that point. He needed calm, and that's what he didn't have.
Yeah. So who's Paul? Who would you say the pressure's on here, mate? Obviously, Usyk's come up from cruiserweight. He's won every belt down there. He's Olympic gold medalist. He's got more medals coming out of his arse than we've had hot dinners. He's gone up to heavyweight, and he's become unified champion in his third fight. He's broke the mold of Fury, AJ, and Wilder. He's gone in and beat Dubois, who's now a champion. He's beat AJ twice, took his belts away, and he's become undisputed by beating Tyson Fury. So he can walk away, win, lose, or draw on Saturday night with his legacy already sewn in the books. Doesn't matter now. He's clocked it. He's done everything on the sporting merit that he's had to do. He's done. He can walk away. But Tyson Fury's wanting to be the best of his generation has to beat Usyk on Saturday night. So I'm answering my own question. But who do you think the pressure's on more here, mate? In your opinion?
Well, it's only there's pressure on one, and that's Fury. Yeah. There's no pressure on Usyk. Could lose this fight, and no one. If he loses the fight, no one's gonna go, "Oh, it's a shock. He's lost the fight." Let's be realistic. No one's gonna go, "Oh, he's lost to Tyson Fury," who in the modern day boxing is one of the greats, right? So it's not a surprise if he loses the fight. If he gets in the ring and Fury knocks him out inside of 3 rounds, then that's completely different what anyone's expecting. But that's where the pressure comes from Fury. Usyk will just need, there's no pressure for him at all. He's got nothing to prove. You said, Dave, a number of times, he's got nothing to prove at this stage. There's no one. There's no pressure. The only pressure he's got is on himself. You said numerous times, I think before this Fury fight 1 happened, it's like once he wins the belt, he'll retire because he doesn't need the money. He's got the game's completed, but he hasn't. He's gone for this fight again. So, yes, of course, money speaks, and that's exactly it. So, does he? Is there is there a next step? Is he thinking, right, dispatch Fury and I retire?
Well, we'll come on to that. You made a good point again. We'll come on to that because he's actually on television today on Sky Sports News saying once this is over, win, lose or draw, obviously, as Dave elaborated to earlier, mate, if it's another close fight and it warrants a trilogy, let's go. But he's talking about going back down to cruiserweight and becoming a 2-time cruiserweight champion, more of his natural weight because he doesn't enjoy putting on the weight. What's his weight? Comes in now at 60 and odd stone. He's built into a heavyweight, but he's not a natural heavyweight. But you're right. You just said there, if Fury knocks him out in 3 rounds, what happens then, mate? So Fury wins, right? What would you like? Basically, what would you like Fury to do next? Just say, for example, he does go in there, he beats Usyk, he's got 3 of the belts. Dubois got the other one. Would you, as a fan, a boxing fan now, not a Fury fan, as a fan, would you like to see Tyson Fury get the AJ fight? Now, bear in mind, me and Dave talk about sporting merit on here. Anthony Joshua's come off a winter in Ghana with a record of 0-1. Has been splattered all over the place by Daniel Dubois. So he doesn't deserve a title shot, but we know the narrative of it. Or would you like to see Tyson Fury get in with Daniel Dubois and get all those 4 belts that he's always, he says he hasn't, but always craved for, to be undisputed and be the king of the heavyweight division? Who would you like to see Fury going with next, mate, if he does get past Oleksandr Usyk on Saturday night?
Well, if he goes for Usyk, it'll be a rematch. For me, I would like Daniel Dubois. Usyk is the next super fight I would like to see. I think Dubois done very well in his first fight against him. Obviously, there was controversy in the fight, so I think that's a big part of it.
What do you think of that? Of the low blow? What's your I want to know what your view is on that. Do you think it was a low blow, or do you think it was a good shot?
Yes, it's a low blow. I've stuck by that. David, me and Graham have had arguments about it, but it's impossible to judge because everyone sees it, as Dave said, and you both said, everyone sees it in different ways. For me, it was a low blow. And for me, I think it was the only fight I've seen Usyk. And you're right, David said at the time. I remember it clearly. He took the amount of time he was allowed to take, and that's what a champion does. They take themselves.
Actually, he didn't. He didn't take the full 5 minutes, but
no. But do you know what I mean? He could have, if it wasn't below the belt or was below the belt, whatever it is, he could have taken. But he took his time to and after that, the fight turned on that merit. And I think since that, I think Dubois has gone on to show he's learned, and I think the kid's got a lot more heart than he had 4 years ago. And I think that's the fight for me to unify that I want to see. I'm not interested. I don't, as I said earlier on, I don't really enjoy.
Okay, then fair enough. If Fury wins on Saturday night and we don't get a trilogy, where would you like to see him go?
Then you'd have to go. Then you want Dubois.
Everybody wants. If you're a boxing fan or a casual, or your mum, dad, and nan sitting at home, they're both household names. Where would you like to see Fury go?
Then it'll be Dubois. The AJ thing's past now. AJ's got no chin. Which was always a sus. But I think if Fury can stand toe to toe with Wilder, yes, it was X amount of years ago, and AJ has shown in every fight now, practically, if you hit him on the chin, he's going to struggle and lose composure and not know where he is. He hasn't got that experience to he can't recompose himself. I know he did it in the Klitschko fight, which is the only fight he's kind of recomposed himself. The minute you hit him with a flurry of punches, the whole fight's done. He just can't compose himself. His bounce back ability is quite slow. AJ Fury would be nice to see if it's not for titles on a card. AJ Fury, it'd be nice to see, but I don't think it warrants the having AJ versus Fury for all the belts. I think that's gone now, especially if Usyk, if Fury does beat Usyk, everyone wants the unification again, and they want a British unification fight. You know, I know.
Micky, do you think? Oh, hello, darling. Hello. Do you think that the AJ Fury fight's a better fight if Fury loses?
No. Is it a better fight if AJ loses? Sorry, if Fury loses.
If Fury loses on Saturday, do you think that it's a more warranted better fight with AJ because of that narrative?
Yes.
Then
it's more likely
if Fury goes in as a
more
champion.
100%. It's more likely to get that fight based on the fact that they'll still have to pay decent money, but it won't be anywhere near the money if they were champion and unifying it. You could then put it back in the UK under the Saudi Arabia banner, but you could put it back in the UK because realistically that was only going to happen in Saudi Arabia anyway. You put it back here in Wembley Stadium, you sell it out, you have a good undercard, and you get two guys that there's nothing. If Fury loses, he'll walk away potentially. You can almost call this, you can sell that on, forget the O's got to go, one of them's got to go. Whoever loses that is done. They're retiring. They're walking away from the sport. That's the stakes you can put on that. Because where does AJ go now from that? Where would Fury go from there, from that point? So I think if Fury loses, you could line up next year, Fury versus AJ. And again, you could set that up for a trilogy. It depends on how clean the fights are. So if you're talking from a promoter's point of view, the whole Undisputed that everyone wanted is gone. It's dead. For those two doing that, I think Fury versus Dubois would be the next fight if he wins. If Usyk steps away and says, I don't want to fight anymore. But I think, that's for me. Dubois would be ahead of AJ now in terms of unification. And I don't see, I mean, Dubois, AJ, has that been announced for the second fight? I can't remember if it's been announced.
Daniel Dubois is fighting Joseph Parker, which Joseph Parker was
Parker next. That's right. I mean, that's a big fight. That's a big fight. Not to go off. We're going off task. Sorry. No, go on. Stay on.
Start the conversation. It is a big fight. You're right. That was what I said about the Anthony Joshua fight. Everybody boxing fan wants it, but we talk about meritocracy on here. Anthony Joshua shouldn't be anywhere near a world title fight after his last two fights and who he's fought. But he will be because of his name and he brings coin. One thing I will take issue with you though, you made points again, mate, about the fight being in Wembley in the UK. That's never going to happen because Uncle Turkey's got the 2030 vision for Saudi Arabia. It's all been about eyes. It's always been about eyes. So if Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua do get it on, even at this stage of their career, it's only going to be in Riyadh because all those eyeballs from little kids to mums and dads to nans and granddads and dogs and cats, they will have to be watching Saudi because you want all eyes on Saudi and that's where the bunts is.
No, I disagree. I think they do it under the Saudi banner like they did the one. Yeah, they did the English one under the Saudi banner. I think they could do it. The crowds in Saudi Arabia are shit. Let's get it straight, right? They're shit. They are shit. You're 100% right. They're awful. But Turkey wants eyes from all around the world on Saudi. It's called the 2030 vision. No, I get that. I would have, if it was for the title belt, I would have agreed with you and said, yes, it's only going to be there. If you're not putting the titles there, I don't think you need to have it there. You can have a banner. I will agree to disagree because I like what he's done. I just think if you're going to have that fight, especially with pay-per-view stuff, it will set up regardless wherever it is. And you can force. Everyone knows Riyadh season now. Everyone knows Saudi Arabia now. I think 5 years ago it was different. You need to have those things there. But I think now, just the names in those two, you doesn't need to be in Riyadh to get that exposure that he wanted 18 months, 2 years ago. But we'll have to wait and see.
It's a good debate. Unfortunately, without Saudi Arabia and Turkey, we've got a possibility of getting it now, Dave. We've got a possibility of getting Fury and AJ, just a bit like Amir Khan and Kell Brook. Just before they retired, even though it wasn't the best of fights, we still got it. Just for clarity, we know who. Obviously, we're never going to know in their pump. It's an if, but a maybe, but we got it. With Saudi, with Turkey, he sets the tone, he sets the scene. And Paul's right. Everybody, not everybody. I mean, that's a bit of an exaggeration. People know about Saudi Arabia season, Riyadh season, but it's always been about the 2030 vision. He wants football there. He wants women's football there. He wants tennis there. He wants golf there. He wants motorsport there. He wants every single big event. I'm not on about your Sunday league. I'm not about your League One or anything like that. He wants all big events. Fury against Usyk without belts or with belts is still a massive event. It's probably the biggest commercial fight in the world. So those eyeballs, they're not going to Wembley. They have to go to Riyadh. Dave, do you agree or disagree?
Well, I can see both of your points. Selfishly, I'd want it at Wembley because I'd be there, the highest seat in the stadium. I'll be there, me and Alf. But yeah, listen, it's a difficult one to know because if they both come off of losses, I know Turkey will want it because it's still a big fight, but it's not for these undisputed belts that he's making in the Ring magazine that he's doing now and all that. It's just the fight. So yeah, I agree with both of you really. He is taking the Riyadh season on the road. So will he look at it and think?
That's out of season, Dave. That's out of season. He's taking it out. He's taking it on the road.
Enough.
Not during Riyadh season. He's not.
No,
Wembley and LA haven't been in season. They've been out of season.
Oh no, fair enough. But it's still got the Riyadh season banner stuff, hasn't it?
Yeah,
but yeah.
But as I said, just to interrupt, Dave, when they done the one Wembley, recently they've done the thing, and I said I thought Riyadh season was in this month and this month. He's like, that's all year round now, and you said no, it's this month to this month. So I still thought, even as a casual, like, it's still part of the Saudi thing. So that's what I'm saying. I don't think you need to have it there on the base that people know the Saudi season, all the things, and with the World Cup being there, as you said.
I agree. You don't need to have it there. I 100% agree with you. What I'm saying is, I don't think it will be in the UK. I think it will be there because of rivals. But go on, Dave. Go on. Just before.
To be fair, like it would be for British, for British fans and for us and everything else, it should be at Wembley. But that's for another day. Uncle Turkey pays the bills, and he'll have it wherever he fucking wants it. But
this is what I'm saying with the Uncle Turkey thing. On this case, the money doesn't need to be there as much because if Fury loses, he hasn't got much where to go, and everyone wants the age of that's his last fight to make top dollar, and they could have enough power to go. Do you know what? Hernan, Frank Warren have worked together now, and they can go right. We don't need Riyadh season. We'll put it under the banner. Of course we will, because it makes more sense to do that. I'm not saying it won't be under the banner of the Riyadh season, but they have a bit more swing to go. Look, in the UK, we're going to make X amount of money. All these people are going to know about Riyadh season. We can put the biggest fight on in the history of boxing, and we could do it here in the UK, and you will be a supporter of that. It'll be sponsored. Everyone will know about. So Eddie Hearn's one thing. He's a good salesman, and I think both of them would rather they have their own fight. We'll rather do it in front of UK fans than in front of someone that's not giving us any noise. But that's we won't know if and when it happens.
We are jumping the gun, obviously, but you've got to look ahead after Saturday night. So before we get into predictions, lads, because we're up to an hour now. Belts, Dave, obviously, fucking silly politics that's got in the way. Again, contradicts themselves. We're getting Bivol Beterbiev too for all 4 belts. Now the IBF, they don't recognise immediate rematches. That's what we've been told, but they're recognising that immediate rematch. But they were made. Oleksandr Usyk. If you talk from a business kind of sense, they've had a 3% of a Daniel Dubois AJ purse, which is massive. But we're getting a 3 belt fight with the Ring magazine. So when they say they don't recognise immediate rematches, that's kind of goes out the window because they're recognising Bivol Beterbiev. But you know my thoughts on belts and sanctioning bodies. It's only for the 3 belts, but we've got the Ring magazine belt, we've got Turkey's belt, and it is still 1 versus 2. Number 1 champion versus the number 2 contender is in Tyson Fury. So thoughts on it not being for undisputed anymore. We know it's undisputed. Politics got in the way. He was made to vacate. Daniel Dubois was upgraded. He didn't win that belt in the ring. He didn't beat Usyk for the belt. But I'm excited now that the Ring magazine's getting a bit more clarity. Is not the right word, but I recognise that now on Saturday night. That belt to be raised by. I'd love for Usyk obviously I'm going to back Usyk, but I'd love to see Usyk raise that Ring magazine belt rather than any other fucking bullshit sanctioning belt that's taking 3%. Because remember, on Saturday night, when he wins that belt or retains that belt, should I say, there's no 3% coming out from the Ring magazine.
No.
So what's your thoughts, mate?
Listen,
that's only for free?
No, well, we've done the undisputed thing, so I'm not overly fussed. I'm just glad that we're getting the fight. The undisputed thing, if the winner still desires to be undisputed, obviously. I wouldn't say Tyson Fury desires it more because I'm sure they both want to be it. But the Daniel Dubois fight is there for them to be undisputed again for the winner. So if that narrative is still there, it's great. Yeah, I'm with you with the Ring magazine. I want one belt, and I'm quite happy for it to be the Ring magazine.
Robbing motherfuckers. Robbing motherfuckers.
All it is politics.
Weekend, right? There was one fight the weekend. I think it was Maxie Hughes, right? when me and Dave previewed it, Paul, there was no belt involved in it. No belt whatsoever. It was two guys having a 10-round fight, getting paid, move on, whatever. WBA come in and say, what, we'll throw a WBA Intercontinental belt on that. So whoever wins that, we'll move up the rankings. But in the meantime, we'll take 3% from both of you out of their fucking purse. Maxie Hughes and Gary Cully have got getting nowhere near the likes of Shakur Stevenson, William Cepeda, Tank Davis. They're just robbing bastards. So basically what we're saying is there's only 3 belts on the line here. The IBF make the rules up as they go along because they're recognising another rematch, but I'm not reckoning this one. So we kind of champion the Ring Magazine belt on here, mate. It's got no sanctioning fees. It stands for 1 versus 2 in the division. And it's got that kind of UFC kind of format, champion versus contender, 1 belt, one belt, 1 champion. So, yeah, I don't know how clued up you are on the belts. It's very confusing as us as boxing fans, but for a casual fan, it must be absolutely crazy because we spoke about the world heavyweight champion. Dave, tell Paul how many legit world heavyweight champions there are, brother. At the moment.
I couldn't actually tell you.
No, but tongue in cheek, like without tongue in cheek. Sorry, how many recognised world champions are there?
Oh, so you get four in every division.
No. So we've got Usyk, we've got Dubois, and who's the other world champion from the other night?
Oh, sorry, Pulev.
There's 3 recognised world champions, Paul. So, but nobody talks about Pulev. But the belt state, he's a regular world champion. He's recognised as world champion. So I'm going a little bit off piece, but going back to my original point, mate, this is for the Ring Magazine belt. Do you care about?
I'm going to a rant, Dave, but you know my view on belts in boxing.
I do, but the masses don't.
It's one of the reasons I stopped watching boxing. My dad stopped watching boxing because it's a fucking disgrace. There's too many people making too many decisions. It's the same as different judges. On WBA will judge it on certain things, and WBO will judge a fight on certain things. It's not unified.
Someone's been listening, Dave. Someone's been listening to the podcast.
And you can't have an industry that has different rules. That's like going with the Premier League. When you play, the offside rule is this. But in the Championship, when you play offside, it's this. And in the League One, when you play, it's got to be uniform so anyone can do it. The whole point of these kind of sports is that from amateur to the top, you can. There's no difference in the rules. Okay, that's always been part of the thing. UFC have done it better for many years, which is why I prefer UFC, generally speaking, over the boxing, because you have one booker, which is what you've got now with Turkey Al-Sheikh, right? You've got this guy now who's really more the booker, and he's more interested in the bigger fights at the moment, but it will trickle down effects. He says, there was a thing I think with Eddie Hearn, he said they watched the fight, and he was just in the hotel watching the fight. We went, who's this guy? And he said the guy's name, and right, I want him on the fight in the next card. Never seen him before in his life. I want him to fight in the next card. Him versus him, next card. Everyone's like, well, okay, we'll make this happen. I think he was with another promoter.
You're referring to Mark Chamberlain, aren't you?
That's it, Mark Chamberlain. That's the one, yeah. And you're thinking, right, the concept being in UFC, you have a booker. There's one guy who does the books the fights, and Dana White kind of signs them off. Then they have to negotiate with the fighters. Boxing, what he's trying to do is trying to do that. And I think, Simon Jordan put it towards Eddie Hearn recently, and I said this prior to this, and I was always been a fan. I was like, at what stage does the person with the money not need the promoters? And they were like, yeah, but our expertise and what we do and all the negotiation, bullshit. Money solves all of that. You're not going to need promoters in 10 years' time. If this guy wants to carry on doing it as a legacy, he will create his own belts and put 2 fingers up to the others. But you can't because of legacy and history. Because all of a sudden, if he comes out and says, right, this is now the #1 belt, everyone fights this belt, the heavyweight champion is this title, WBO, WBC, WBA, that's all history. The history behind it, you're starting a new legacy. But what boxing needs to do is be simplified. You need to have one title that represents all divisions. And that's it. One title, WBO, WBA, it's one title, it's all come together. WWE did it years ago when they had territories and I know Dave Holland's going to be like, oh, back to wrestling. But when they had territories in the 70s and 80s, Chicago, New York, Delaware, whatever it was, 52 different companies. And Vince went in and bought the company, shut it down and enrolled it in. Then you had the WWE, which is the mega company, which is one true champion. That's what someone needs to do is go to WBA. What we're buying a WBA and we're dissolving it and we're mixing with WBO. We're buying a WBO and we're making it one. So it's unified. Everyone would be happier. Everyone would be happier if you had one outcome and you had one undisputed champion. That's why UFC do it so well, because you know there's none of this. Yeah, but he won't fight him. You don't fight him, you're cut. Fuck off. You fight who we tell you to fight. That's it. And unless you're elite and you're the top, and John Jones, I spoke to earlier on, is probably a little bit exceptions in the UFC with a bit more hand-picked. But you need to have one champion representing one division because it's just confusing. And I think it turns more people off than it does on. And that's why I think casual fans at their peak, I think there's never been as many casual fans in boxing, because when it comes to a big fight like the Tyson Fury versus AJ or Usyk, they go, "Oh, I've dipped my toe in there." They couldn't tell you but what undisputed is. I couldn't tell you. How many belts is undisputed? Is it 4 belts, or is it now 5 if Pulev's got one?
Yeah, it's 4. It's 4 belts, and it will be 5 in about 10 years' time.
The WBA have got 2 world champions in their division. They've got a super champ and a regular champ. I mean,
there you go.
That's for another day. We're ranted about this.
They're thinking belts mean people were going to pay. There's a title on the line. Psychologically, think, oh, it's a title fight. I'll watch that one. Which you used to do in certain things. But now there's more. This is more champions than there are not champions, or everyone's fighting for a belt. Every other week, it's like, oh, he's fighting for that belt. He's fighting for that belt. It's like, I can't keep up. I think it's a fucking joke.
That's our point. You're right. You've nailed it. Yeah, that's exactly it. They're robbing bastards. So we need to eradicate all that. But obviously, I think you're in the same boat as us, mate. The Ring Magazine belt's on the line. The one that's we recognise on here. No sanction fees. The number 1 contender versus the champion. So let's get into it now, because obviously you want to crack on with a bit of UFC before we do our little quiz between you two. So it looks like they're all out in Riyadh at the moment. Both teams are out there. We'll have all the media workouts all week. We'll have the press, all the talking, everything else that goes with that. But Saturday night, boys, they both get in the ring. Both teams are out the ring, so they've got to start throwing leather and crack on. So obviously, Paul, you're our guest brother. You've made your statements. You've gone over the first fight. You've made some great points, mate. But on Saturday night, what happens? I'll ask you 2 questions, actually. Who do you want to win, but who do you think wins?
I want Usyk, and Usyk wins.
How?
I honestly can't see it going past the judges again, just because the power. I know Usyk had it rocked him on the 9th round of the last fight, and he moved him from pillar to post. And you're thinking, well, if that was arguably one of the most dismantled rounds that you're going to get someone against somebody, and he couldn't knock him out technically in that situation, the referee is very unlikely to stop it. I think it goes a distance again, and Usyk just wins it more convincingly on points. I don't think Usyk's got as we said, with the knockdown ability that Fury's shown to get up from the Wilders and people like that, and Nogueira, when he got knocked down but got back up, he has that history, and to try and knock him out is very difficult. And I don't know if Usyk has the power to knock him out cleanly. So therefore, I think it goes to full points in the end, but Usyk quite comfortably.
David boy, how are you thinking this time? You edged to Fury last time, even though you're a huge Usyk fan. Is the narrative still the same with you, mate? Does he do it this time, or are you going for the little Ukrainian dude with buck teeth?
I did back Fury the last time. I just thought he'd be too big, he'd be too strong, and he would be the actual heavyweight in the bout, and like the heavyweight that actually could push Usyk back and be the problem, because he's also got good lateral movement, good movement as a heavyweight, and I thought that. He had the tools to do it. Watching the fight, he did have good mid rounds. He did, he hit Usyk to the body. He hit Usyk with some good uppercuts. He had good moments. But we're also a year on from that now, and we spoke about decline at the start, and I do see decline, and unfortunately. But to your question,
do you think you said about the body? Then I should have mentioned it before. Do you think that is the one weakness that no one's exploiting with Usyk? Is actually just going, I'm going to just go for the body and break him down, because if he can't move because he can't breathe, I've got a chance of beating him.
Yeah, listen, it's very difficult
to land, isn't it?
You've got to be able to land the shot. You've got to be able to get your pivot, get your feet into position to throw that shot. Now, also, at Tyson Fury's height is a detriment to throwing that shot. Because he's against a lot smaller man, and you have to dip to throw that shot. Now he's got to dip a long way down to nail that shot. So the attribute of being the bigger man and 6'9" actually works against him in the one weakness that so-called Usyk has. Now, yes, everyone says he's susceptible to the body, but 1, he's never been dropped by it, and 2, he's never been stopped by it, and 3, he's never been beaten by it. So yes, it's one of them ones where yes, he looks susceptible to it, but he's held up to everyone that's hit him in it. But yeah, to answer your question, Paul, yes, Daniel Dubois would disagree, and Frank Warren. But but like I say, it does seem to be the blueprint. But you've got there's a lot of factors in the way you execute that shot on Usyk, because Usyk maybe knows it himself, so he's not going to leave it out there to be hit. But going back to your question, Dave. I would like Tyson Fury to win. I'm a Tyson Fury fan. I thought he'd win the first fight. But I honestly, I've got my head has got to rule my heart on this one. Maybe that was the difference in the first fight for me when I predicted it, because I'm with you. I think Oleksandr Usyk is fantastic, and what he does, and is unbelievable, and I'm a massive fan. But I think that Usyk does it again. I think Usyk will win, and I think Usyk will win on points. I think it'll be a good fight, but I just think, and I said it earlier on about going up in gears. Usyk had another gear, after round 8 for me, and that round 9 was the turning point in the fight. But it was good mid rounds. But it's almost, I don't want to say that Usyk allowed him to come back into the fight, but he had another level, and Tyson Fury for me didn't. And I think Usyk's going to win, but I think he's going to win on points again.
Yeah. Well, you know me, boys. I'm a super fan, so there's a lot of bias there as well, along with sort of educated, as I like to call it, educated sort of knowledge of him. So to me, Usyk beats King Kong and Godzilla in the same ring on the same night. So I'm going to go exactly the same way as you, boys. I'm a massive fan. I want him to win, and I can see again points might be a bit wider this time, but yeah. Let's look forward to a great fight on Saturday night, and it'd be interesting to see who does get the hand raised and where they go in 2025. So just quickly before you talk a little bit about UFC, Paul, Dave, rest of the card, anything to point out to Paul rather than Paul just jumping into the main event? What else is on that's worth watching, brother?
Well, I think, me, my prospect of the year, Micky, was Moses Atuma. I don't know if you've seen him. He's a Frank Warren fighter. He's a young heavyweight. 19 years old, could quite possibly, if he went down the route of Pulev and got that regular title, could be the youngest heavyweight champion in history. And maybe Frank Warren's pushed him that way. There's been a lot of pullouts in this one. Dennis McCann, he pissed hot this week, which will be in David McDonald's news on Thursday, or when we're doing this one later this week. But that'd be the fight. The card's not great. The undercard's not great here. But we're looking at that one. The standout one now is probably Moses Atuma, Dempsey McKean. So that would be one that I'd be looking at there.
So there you have it, guys. That's our boxing preview for Usyk versus Fury 2. Now, Micky McGrath there, he's a massive UFC fan. Time for him to educate us. Go on then. What you got for us, Paul, UFC-wise?
Well, yeah, you're a bit more casual on the UFC, Graham. Holland, I don't think you really dip in as much, really. But obviously, you've got
casual,
the super fight that's hoping to be 2025 is looking to be a great year of sport again, as it seems to be getting better every year. But it's been confirmed by Dana White that in 2025, 100%, he said, you'll get the John Jones versus Tom Aspinall fight. John Jones ultimately is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, fighter in UFC history, in MMA history. You've seen a bit of John Jones, Dave. You dip your toe in when you see John Jones coming back. Yep. Tom Aspinall is a beast. One of the youngest champions to ever step in. Just phenomenal. Took fight on short notice, and it just looks unstoppable.
So isn't this champ? Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted clarity. Is this champion versus interim champion?
Yes. So this is champion versus champion if you're looking at it from a boxing point of view. But generally, yes, you have two world heavyweight champions. You've got John Jones, who came back, who after a long absence and regained his title, which is rare. I disagree with how they've done it, but it should have been straight in with Aspinall because he's holding his title. But I can understand that John Jones has got to level his career to be a bit more like, let me find some guy who was supposed to fight 2 years ago, whatever it was supposed to be. He dispatched him very quickly. I don't think it was much of a challenge, really, because he hadn't been in the ring or octagon for 3 years. But Aspinall versus Jones, is that one you would be interested in?
I've set my alarm already, mate. 100%. You know me, I'm a casual. We put things on the WhatsApp group. So, me and Dave now again speak about it on here. We mentioned about Francis Ngannou, his comeback fight, the crossovers that made me go to the PFL and watch his comeback fight. We was having a rant about tickets the other day, Dave, wouldn't we? I wanted to know, be interested to know how much the tickets are over in the States and over in Saudi, because we priced them up at $369 for Rose Ed. But that aside, yeah, mate, 100%. John Jones is obviously a go-to guy. One of my favourite ones was Tai Tuivasa. Now, I like watching Tai because he's a fat bloke that drinks beer out of a shoe and a street fighter. So that another guy that got me involved. But going back to your original point, mate, champion versus champion. Has Bonesy been beat in another weight class? I'm not too sure. Has he been beat before? No, so it's undefeated versus undefeated. Deal me in, mate, 100%. I think Dave's will have the same sort of narrative as well, because you're the same, aren't you? Fights like that, you kind of set your alarm or you watch them straight away in the morning with your Cocoa Pops, Dave, don't you?
Yeah,
Dave,
I,
you watched the last Ngannou, the last Jones fight, and you said it was something like two grannies having a slow fight or something.
I thought it was in slow motion.
I forgot that.
Yeah, I did. I thought it was in slow motion, and this is why I'm going to ask you this. I'm an absolute casual. I'll dip it. I don't know all the names of it and all that. I do enjoy it. I have to admit, I do enjoy it. I think it's brutal. It's fucking brutal. Some of the things that that you can do in that, but it is technically. It's a brilliant sport because it's all different facets. You've got your jiu-jitsus, you've got all that. That's why we sort of said they don't make great boxers when they cross over, because it's one facet of a whole thing for them. It's one thing. So it's not perfecting one sort of art. So they can put their hands up a little bit, but they get caught with someone with fundamentals. Not Tyson Fury.
You noticed if you start watching crossover fights, Paul, when they actually get boxers, there was one the other night over in Russia against a proper boxer. They can't even set their feet, but they don't have the same sort of training as Dave said. They've got so many facets, so many different skill sets. They're all well rounded, which is understandable. But yeah, sorry to take you off.
And that's why they get exposed, because they fall over their front foot. They don't. And it's exactly what he said. They don't set their feet to throw a shot. It's effective in UFC because they can throw shots and then go down and try and fucking take them to the floor. So it's a different skill, but again, I admire it. And Tony Bellew had it right, where he said, if you ever see a man out in the street with cauliflower ears and he dips like that, don't matter what boxer you are, just walk away, walk away. And he's fucking right. But what I wanted to ask you, Paul, as a casual myself, when it comes to UFC, do you think that Tom Aspinall versus John Jones is a change in the guard sort of fight here? Because you've got a legend in that, but Father Time waits for no one. We're talking about Fury in decline. Again, you can't take anything I say when it comes to UFC, but I thought it was a slow John Jones, and that was slow. You said and don't get me wrong, I could be wrong, but he's coming in with a younger, fresher fighter in Tom Aspinall, and do you think that this could now? It doesn't change his legacy, because it shouldn't, But do you think that the timing's everything when it comes to this fight?
Yeah, I think, okay, just a quick one on the fight that you watched was interesting, because as a casual, reversing it for a second, that's what John Jones does. He is the equivalent to Usyk's IQ in UFC. He breaks people down. He's playing a chess match. Every little thing he does is on purpose. There's not a single thing or wasted energy. Everything he does is precise, and it's like a surgeon. He's just so good at it. He's got a mark against his name, and Aspinall brought this up on the Piers Morgan interview the other day about he was tested positive for PEDs, and therefore,
Paul, sorry,
a couple of times. So there's always going to be now a question mark on that, based on that. So his legacy will always be tarnished to the purist purely on that basis. In a change in the regard, yes, I think it is almost a change in the regard. John Jones has been around for a long time. He's done an amazing job, but he's one of the greatest of all time. There's no debate about that. But I think going against a Tom Aspinall who is younger, stronger, hasn't gone that many rounds, that's the difference. And this has been an experienced fight. Dana White's been spoken about, has been put to him about, would he put this in an arena? A stadium. Because historically, UFC's in arenas. But there's talk about putting this in a stadium, which has never been done in UFC history. That's how big it is on a massive scale to have this fight go through. I think it's a change in the guard. I think John Jones, to me, from that fight, Dave, you are right. He looked a little bit sluggish in points, but the guy hasn't fought in X amount of years. And I think having that gap is too long. If he's going to fight Aspinall, I think it has to be very early in 2025. I mean, kind of April, May time, because you can't be inactive that long. And Aspinall would have been inactive for a lot longer period. Technically, I think it'll be an absolute masterclass from Jones to beat Aspinall. And we talked about mental health earlier on, about how Fury has gone to the mountains and changing up style. I don't know with what aspect Tom Aspinall comes in, because he comes in heavy and hard. And I don't know if Jones, like Usyk, is very slippery and very good at protecting himself. He can take it down to the ground if he needs to. It is a fascinating fight, and it's going to be it's the Bivol fight of UFC in terms of that. The technicality of each person, and anyone who doesn't watch UFC will probably watch it and go, God, it's quite a boring fight. But there'll be so many nuances in it, or it'll be an explosion and everyone will love it for what it is. So, yeah, that's the only news I can give you on that. There's other stuff with Saudi Arabia fight. Magnanov is a Russian fighter. He's got one eye. I saw him fight. He got ginger hair. He looks like he works in the back of a farm. Magnum.
He looks like a Bond villain, doesn't he? I know the guy you're on about.
Yeah, but he can't get a license outside of the US, outside of Saudi because he's got one eye, and you can't fight professional fights with one eye. But he is fucking unbelievable. If you get a chance, Holland, Magnumov, I'll send you some. He's unbelievable. He's got one eye, and he's beating people sick. He's fucking unbelievable. So I think it's going to be an exciting year for UFC in 2025. Was all I wanted to just shoehorn in there. It's the biggest fight in UFC history, potentially. A lot of money is going to be on the hands. And Dana White, historically, has been very good with his purse strings. I think they're going to have to really put a lot of money into this, which is why I think it'll have to be a stadium event to pay everyone what I think go fuck you money was what John Jones referred to it as well.
There you go. There you go, people. Not only did we give you a boxing preview, we've given you the UFC preview for next year between John Bonesy Jones and Tom Aspinall. So I think the whole of the combat sports world will be looking forward to that one. But I'm looking forward to a bit of fun now, just to end the show. I said in the intro that me and Paul used to have drink of the week on the podcast we used to do. And as a fivesome, we used to have a bit of a quiz, a bit of a football quiz on a 90s-based podcast, the Phoenix 5 show. And we're going to end with a bit of football chat. So the game is called Guess the Player. So, ladies, what I do, I'll give Dave 10 players, I'll give Paul 10 players from the 90s. And I'll say, for instance, for you guys to play along at home, off the top of my head, I would say Arsenal Dutch striker. And then the guys would think, and they'd say Bergkamp. But maybe they might say Overmars. But what I've got written on my paper will either be Bergkamp or Overmars. Whoever gets the most points wins. It's as simple as that. Take a bit on the down memory lane, boys, this game.
Yeah, I've not done a quiz since. And the Phoenix 5 defunct, a few years ago now.
To be fair, Adam Miller isn't here, who used to accuse me of giving everything to Lee, who isn't here. And we used to take the Mickey out of Paul, Mr. Micky McGrath there, for constantly using Google and Alexa. So, and Dave was for pointing that out, wasn't you?
He was a cheating bastard, is what he was.
Never proven.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right, the first 10 off the top. So, who wants to go first?
Mickey can go first. He's the guest.
Right, if you can keep your score, 10 names coming up from the 1990s. Are you ready, Mickey?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Aston Villa Welsh striker. Think 90s.
I know this.
These are his questions.
No,
so you can't
pass. Pass.
Dean Saunders.
Dean Saunders.
See him. Yeah, well done. Go on.
Arsenal Portuguese midfielder.
Portuguese. You know,
I can't even remember this one.
Oh
no. No, pass.
Sure, Dave? You can't get the point, by the way, but any idea? 90s?
Portuguese. No, my mind's gone blank. Go on.
People shouting at the screen now on YouTube. Luis Boa Morte.
Oh, fuck. Yeah.
Right.
Shit.
Oh, this is falling well for Paul, this one. Man United Russian midfielder.
Oh, Kanchelskis.
There you go. Andrei Kanchelskis. Liverpool Irish defender.
Oh, my God.
There was a couple. Let's see if you can get the right one.
Stephenham.
No, that was naughty.
Steve Staunton.
Phil Babb.
Phil Babb. Fuck.
QPR American goalkeeper.
Oh, Sommer.
Well done. Jurgen Sommer. Well done, Paul. Middlesbrough Brazilian midfielder.
Emerson.
Yes, he got it. You went Emma. Juninho then.
He got to take his first answer. He said Juninho.
No, he went Emma. And then Emma. Fair play. Right. Southampton Latvian striker.
Oh, what's his name?
I know it.
He went for loads of goals, didn't he? Then disappeared.
Yeah. I'll give no. Go on, Dave. I can't remember.
Is it Marion Pahars?
Yes, you got it.
Okay, Marion Pahars. Newcastle Georgian midfielder.
Kitsbayer.
Well done. Tamuri Ketsbayer. Nottingham Forest Dutch striker.
Van Hooydonk.
No. Who's the other one, Dave? Can you remember the other one?
No.
It's
Brian Roy.
Brian Roy.
Yeah.
How many up to? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. One more. Newcastle, Belgian defender.
Albert.
Well done. Philippe Albert. How many did you get?
He got 3.
No, I got more than 3.
Was I meant to be counting?
Yeah, I think you keep his score. I think he did get more than 3, actually.
I got Kinspire. I got Kinspire.
He probably got 7.
He got Emerson. Did you
Emerson.
get Pahars?
Yeah, no, I got Pahars.
No.
Kanchelskis. Jürgen Sommer.
Yeah.
You got that one. Did we say Ketz? I think you got 5, didn't you?
Yeah, I think it's 5. That's about right.
Right, you got 5 to beat, Dave.
All right.
Are you ready? You keep his score, Paul. Right, here we go. Middlesbrough Danish striker.
John Dow Thomason.
No.
Beck.
No, Paul?
Beck.
Well done. Mikkel Beck.
Shit.
Yeah. Coventry Scottish midfielder.
Gary McAllister.
Gary Mack, yeah. Man City German striker.
Oh, fuck. Oh, shit. No, I don't know.
Oh?
No.
Uwe Rosler.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Uwe Rosler.
He just come there. Oh, shit.
Lee Harper would have got all these.
Yeah, I'll be choosing again to him, wouldn't I? Right. West Ham Israeli midfielder.
Al Berkovic.
Correct. Bolton Scottish striker.
Oh, fuck. I can see him.
One of your lot, isn't he?
Yeah. They're all my lot. I want to kick myself now. Go on.
Holdsworth, isn't it? Holdsworth?
John McGinley.
Oh, John McGinley, yeah.
McGinley. Sheffield Wednesday Italian striker.
Oh, you're going to do me, yeah? Because there's 2 of them. But I'm going to go for Benito Carboni.
You were correct. Benito Carboni.
you could have done me with the Canio there.
Coventry Swedish goalkeeper.
Grizovic.
No. Paul?
Magnus Hedman.
Well done. Magnus Hedman.
Shit.
What's the score, by the way?
He's got 2.
Oh, you need this next 3, Dave.
How many have I got? It's not 2, is it?
You got 2.
Oh.
Right, let's see if he gets this one. Wimbledon Nigerian striker.
Efan Okoku.
Well done.
Paul's cheating here. We'll go back and listen to
You'll get this one. Man City Georgian midfielder.
Georgie Kinkladze.
Well done. Right, so I'm guessing it's 5-4.
I thought this is it.
So you need this one to put for a tie. Tottenham Norwegian striker.
Van Torsten. Tottenham Norwegian striker. Why couldn't it have been Chelsea? Is it Torsfield?
I can't give it to
Stefan Everson.
Stefan Everson.
Oh, shit. Well done, Mickey. I think you cheated, though. Go back and see how many I got right.
Yeah. So just to clarify something, ladies and gentlemen, since COVID, these two are supposed to have a 100 meters race. I think they've seen each other about 20 times since. One stage, Paul bought his spikes. Dave wore jeans, but they've never actually got it on. So
we did. I won the last one.
Oh, you had a race?
Yeah, when Lee Harper fell over, I won.
Oh.
He didn't win. Lee Harper fell over. And I was smoking him. I turned around and Lee Harper was falling in slow motion. So I stopped to help my comrade who'd fallen. And then Dave just ran ahead with some bird at the end.
They're all fair in love and war, mate. You're not the Brownlee brothers, mate. I burst past you and Bosch won and laughed at the finish line. So a win's a win.
Yeah, there you go. And Paul's just won this one. So now you've got a trilogy next time you meet. Whether it be darts, running again, swimming.
We won't do darts. Swimming, we won't. I'll kill him at swimming.
Pair of speedos. Well, Paul's got the body now. He's got the fasting body. Me and you have got 2 big guts, mate.
Yeah, that's true. But then like I say, I'm 6'1", he's 4'8". It's unfair.
Right, we could go on debating and take the piss all night. Paul, thanks ever so much for coming on, brother.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Bivol in March. Mr. Harper said he's going to come back on. Unfortunately, he couldn't come on today, and I've no idea with Adam Miller. Hopefully, he can, and we can recapture the Phoenix 5. But you've been great, mate. Thanks again for coming on, brother.
You're welcome.
Right, so that's the end of podcast episode 89.
Sorry, can I promote my podcast? I forgot our podcast.
Yes, sorry, mate. Of course you can. Sorry, brother.
We've got a Christmas episode out. If you're a big fan of the 90s, if you're a footballing fan, we've got a Christmas special. Our last episode of 2024, where I sat down with the Man United legend, England legend, Mr. Brian Robson, which will be out on Friday. And that's What's the Story, 90s Glories. Hit us up if you haven't listened to our past episodes. This one's a belter.
To be fair, Paul, you've done well to pull him. I know you speak to him. Since we've done the Phoenix 5, we had a few ex-footballers on, and you've stayed in contact with Brian Robson. He couldn't do it at the time because he was an ambassador at Man United, wasn't he? But you managed to get him on now on your new podcast, mate, and that's brilliant. I'll definitely listen to that. And I echo what he says to everyone that listens to ours. Go and listen to that. It'll be a good one.
Yeah, so go get stuck in there, ladies and gentlemen. As you do with ours. Obviously, you're watching on YouTube. That like button there, that subscribe button, and that share button. Just give them a click. You're still here now. You've watched the whole episode. Just do it. You should have done it. Stop. Just do it now. And obviously, do the same on the audio feeds on Spotify and Apple and Amazon or wherever you get your contents. And give us a 5-star review as well as nothing else will do. Me and Dave will be back either tomorrow or Thursday for a bit of review of the weekend's boxing. And then obviously we'll talk about the rest of the card going forward to Saturday night's action. So until next week, ladies and gentlemen, have a great week. And if you don't listen between now and then, have a fantastic Christmas. And we'll see you during the week. Again, thanks again, fellas. Have a great Christmas, Paul, if I don't speak to you before then, brother. And Dave, I'll see you during the rest of the week. So, yeah, peace out, guys.
Cheers. Yep, see you, lads. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, guys.